In the midst of the trade dispute with the US, Beijing signed the RCEP agreement with 14 other countries. For companies from the USA and Europe, the conditions there are likely to become more difficult. At a virtual summit, 15 countries from the Asia-Pacific region signed the largest free trade agreement ever. America is not there, and neither is another major rival of China. The largest free trade area in the world is emerging in the Asia-Pacific region. The heads of state and governments of China, Japan, South Korea, Australia and New Zealand agreed on a corresponding agreement on Sunday with the Southeast Asian Community of States, ASEAN, which includes Thailand, Vietnam and Indonesia. The trade pact of a total of 15 states comprises around 30% of global economic output and affects around 2.2 billion inhabitants. The deal offers China the opportunity to further expand its economic influence in the region. For companies from the USA and Europe, the competitive conditions in the region are likely to become more difficult. It took blood, sweat and tears to bring the record trade deal to a close. At least that is how Malaysia's Trade Minister Azmin Ali characterized the tough negotiations that had dragged on for over 8 years. The so-called Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, with the official abbreviation RCEP, was signed at the weekend at the end of the Asian Summit in the Vietnamese capital Hanoi, which was held virtually due to the coronavirus pandemic. China's Prime Minister Li Keqiang had recently praised the agreement as a strong positive signal for the progress of regional integration and economic globalization. The government in Beijing had originally promoted the Free Trade Pact as an alternative to the Trans-Pacific Partnership, the TPP, with which the US under President Barack Obama wanted to establish closer economic ties with the region. Obama's successor Donald Trump, however, stopped US participation in the free trade area shortly after he took office. From the point of view of his critics, Trump gave China the opportunity to dominate Asia's trade policy without competition. RCEP allows China to present itself as a pioneer of globalization and multilateral cooperation, commented Gareth Leather, Asian economist at the analyst company Capital Economics, Capital Economics. This puts China in a better position to significantly determine regional trade rules, he added. Despite the trade conflict with the United States, China has signed the largest free trade agreement in the world with 14 Asia-Pacific countries. After 8 years of negotiations, the signing took place on Sunday at the end of the virtual summit of the Southeast Asian Community of States, ASEAN, in Vietnam's capital Hanoi, as I said. The Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, as I said, compromises 2.2 billion people. And this agreement reduces tariffs, sets common trade rules, and thus also facilitates supply chains. It encompasses trade, services, investment, e-commerce, telecommunications and copyright. RCEP, as I said, stands for Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. And just as a reminder, in addition to the second largest economy, China, and the 10 ASEAN countries, Vietnam, Singapore, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, the Philippines, Myanmar, Brunei, Laos and Cambodia, Japan, Australia, South Korea and New Zealand are also participating. Especially against the background of the ongoing trade war with the United States, the Free Trade Pact is a great success for the communist leadership in Beijing. According to experts, the agreement will promote economic integration in the Asia-Pacific region and counteract protectionist tendencies. Before the corona crisis, the RCEP countries accounted for 29% of the global trade volume, slightly less than the EU with 33%. The share of the RCEP community is likely to increase as experts expect. RCEP will redraw the economic and strategic map of the Indo-Pacific, said Jeffrey Wilson of the Australian Institute of Strategic Policy, the ASPI. The Free Trade Pact is of massive importance. It will also give a boost to efforts to recover from the pandemic. The agreement was preceded by 31 rounds of negotiations and 18 ministerial meetings. Self-imposed deadlines were not met 6 times. In the end, the agreement was particularly dependent on India, which did not want to open up that far. But when New Delhi withdrew from the negotiations at the end of last year, the way was paved for the agreement. With the pact, in addition to the community of the other Asia-Pacific Free Trade Agreement, the CPTPP, abbreviated to Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, another free trade area is formed. However, the CPTPP only represents 13% of global economic output. It's left over from the more ambitious Trans-Pacific Partnership project after US President Donald Trump withdrew his country from the deal in 2017. Although the Asian talks were only held virtually, Trump did not attend the summit for the third year in a row there. While the United States under him has lost weight in the Asia-Pacific region, China is extending its influence even further with a new free trade pact. RCEP is more far-reaching than CPTPP, but does not go as deep as experts describe. The Trans-Pacific Partnership CPTPP between Australia, Brunei, Canada, Chile, Japan, Malaysia, Mexico, New Zealand, Peru, Singapore and Vietnam has so far been ratified by 7 countries and comprises 480 million people. It remains to be seen whether the United States will rejoin the Trans-Pacific Partnership under new President Joe Biden, which would also require the approval of Congress. Experts pointed out that both free trade pacts are not in competition with one another and membership is not mutually exclusive. Rather, the new RCEP agreement with China works as a supplement. Japan, Vietnam, Singapore, Brunei, Malaysia, Australia and New Zealand belong to both. The new free trade pact does not mean, however, that all problems between the trading partners have been resolved or that individual countries are not concerned about the growing dependence on China. Japan is currently reviewing its supply chains in China. There are also conflicts between Australia and China because Beijing is restricting imports from Australia due to political tensions. Nonetheless, the agreement demonstrates that Asia-Pacific economies are very skeptical of the technological and economic decoupling from China propagated by the United States under Trump. And if you now want to know more about global news and politics, YouTube has chosen another of my videos right here for you on the end screen. And with all the other buttons here, you can subscribe to my other English channels. I'll see you in my next video. Click and enjoy. Viel Spaß!